Recording, I believe. Yeah, filtering. Yeah, hat. I'm actually wearing a hat, which I never do. But yeah, I got this thinning hair problem. Thin hair problem. It's not even thinning. It's just thin. Anyway, that's beside the point. My problem. Regardless. Old fan. Yeah, she made a video just asking a simple question. But it's always a complicated question. You know, simple questions are often complicated questions. They have complex answers anyway. You know, the idea is, what do we basically deserve? Do we deserve to be happy? You know, living in a world where, you know, there's so much suffering, pain, hardship, sacrifice. I mean, just overt, disgusting, grotesque, horrific. You know, it's not even so much people are, you know, jumping on the grenades. They're being thrown on the grenades. You know, kids, labor, prostitution. You go through a whole list of all these exploitations that take place in the world. And do we really have a right to basically live ignoring that? You know, not being necessarily mindful of it even. Or aggressively doing something to fix it. Does it make us guilty? And the answer is, yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, there's no point in feeling guilty. I mean, you know, it's a kind of a pointless exercise to feel bad. Feeling bad doesn't accomplish anything. Except if it gives you notice of something being wrong that you have to give attention to. And so as long as your brain has in it an understanding of this calculation, there's some recognition that there's a huge cheat going on. I realize it. I'm unfortunately stuck in the game. I was thrown on the track running, and I'm running. And that's what I do. I run. And you know, I didn't set up the game. I didn't do anything to make the game. And so all I can do is what I can do while I'm running. But I have to run. And if I don't run, I die. And then that doesn't fix anything. You know. And so, yeah, I gotta run. Gotta put my other glove on. It's really kind of cold out here. It's gonna snow tomorrow. But, you know, it's winter. It's got to do that inevitably. Whoa. Oh, whoa. God damn, it's tricky in here. Anyway. Yeah, so anyway, the point is you sort of have to measure it you have to be pragmatic. So you have to get enough out of your life. You have to breathe enough oxygen, to survive. And to, you know, to try to do something with your understanding and recognition of the fact that, you know, there aren't enough people with the understanding. So a key ingredient to your doing something productive about it is not being destroyed by depression and guilt, and trying to affect change through whatever mechanism you have available to you. And it's difficult because, yeah, we need so much, you know, to survive, you know, to find life palatable. You do kind of have to service a lot of personal need. And so you don't have all this excess energy left over, because you do have to kind of entertain yourself. You do have to indulge your selfish pleasures, the things that comfort your mind. And the more difficult it is to comfort your mind because you're preoccupied by some sort of negative perception, or negative emotion, more importantly, yeah, you're in trouble. So it's good to have, you need a psychology that both, you know, that allows you to maintain awareness, but doesn't allow it to hurt you, to diminish your power, or to make you too too needy, too selfishly consumptive. And I'm always fighting and struggling with these balances, because there's times in my life where I'm demanding my personal life to give me more. It's just too stark, too bleak. And so then I have to focus on things that are, my potato chip, my indulgence. And I don't have as much energy to do the stuff I don't want to do, the unpleasant fight the fight kind of crap, that might be in the right way even. I'll take the shortcuts. I make these videos. This is a shortcut, as I'm too lazy to write the book. And I use lazy in a kind of a loose way, in the sense that I'm basically conceding that you can only do so much when you're kind of hanging on the edge of the cliff. It's kind of hard to do a bunch of knitting and macrame and crocheting, while your fingers are busy just clinging to something to hold on to. And so I don't want to be, I'm not making excuses for myself, but I'm just saying that there is this weird, somewhere there is the definition of a balance, in the sense that, you're doing the best you can. You're doing the best you can. And you hope to do better, okay, but you can't promise to do better, because you really don't know how many fingers you can let go. How much of, how disconnected can you become from having a life to being, in this war, fighting the fight all the time. Because that'll just, it's hard. It wears you down. It wears you out. I gotta be careful here. No ice, which is really cool. Just a little bit there. That should be okay. Yeah, alright. See, a simple thing like that. Okay, that makes it a little easier. I didn't fall in the stream. So now I got a little more, a little more reserve saved up for later. I can fight. So anyway, but yeah. Then there's another aspect to this whole question of what we deserve. And it's kind of a, what do I deserve as an American? Well, I basically deserve to be squashed like a bug. Because what my country has done has been outrageous, disgusting, horrific. It's a disgusting bully, a grotesque monstrosity. We all deserve to die being slowly burnt to death. Yeah, for what we have done around the world, for the lives we have so callously and casually poured gasoline on and set ablaze. Fuck Americans. So yeah, part of me says I deserve nothing for being an American, but hell, I've earned it as an American. I've earned hell because I wasn't good enough. I wasn't persuasive enough to convince my fellow countrymen not to be complete motherfucking cunt assholes. Alright, so that's a problem. And I can look at the world and I say, what does the human race deserve? Well, when you start thinking about the psychologies that have dominated the human race, the murder and the slaughter and the theft and the greed and the avarice and all these negative, horrible emotions that have dominated so much of the psychology that has ruled the world. Say, fuck being human. Humans don't deserve anything either. As a human being, I deserve hell because I have imposed it as a human being. We're all responsible for Hitler. It's just a fact. A human did it. Okay? And so that's all on us as humans. We've got to accept the liability. billions and billions and trillions and zillions of animals tortured and tormented by human beings. It's on me. I'm a human. So yeah, for that, I deserve, I deserve to have my burnt up ashes stirred up again, reformed into my shape, and then burned down again. And then somebody to take a poop on it. I mean, it's just, yeah, so we deserve nothing in that sense. But then when you reduce it to the individual, this thing that just got thrust here, thrown into this quagmire of crap, I can honestly say, I never voluntarily played the game. I've never said, yeah, this is all a fair exchange rate. I'm willing to impose the risk. Go ahead, kill them, save me. I've never played the game. I've never invested in it. I've never embraced the system. I've never done anything overtly to say I vote for it. And if I was given an opportunity to vote against it, I would have. And I will have. And I will, if that ever put on the ballot. So as an individual, I can be cleansed of responsibility in the sense that if it were within my power, the game wouldn't be played. And there wouldn't be these losses. And there wouldn't be any need to pour gasoline and set it all ablaze. Because there would be no crime. There would be no guilt. Because there would be no assignment of this risk and this recklessness and this sloppiness. It wouldn't be acceptable. I wouldn't have my existence at that price. So yeah, in that sense, we, the antis, are exempt from some responsibility because we're not overtly raising our hand or overtly, pushing the lever, and we are attempting to overtly do exactly the opposite, to stop the process that creates these liabilities, to stop the process that imposes the risk and doesn't apportion it fairly or appropriately. That's the way the game should be played. You should be entitled to exactly what you're willing to impose. That's it. If you're a slave owner, you should be vulnerable to being a slave. That should be your fate, your destiny, is to live the life you would impose. I would impose none, so I have no obligation of liability. No risk am I imposing. No risk am I assigning to myself. I have no vulnerability to take responsibility for the downside. I don't own a slave, so I don't have to be a slave. I wouldn't own a slave. I don't believe in ownership of slaves, however you want to put it. But by stating that, I have an exemption to some accountability and some responsibility. But again, the calculation is always going to be by a rational standard of fairness, and that's what a brain does. It understands that concept. Reality, this world out here, the rules played by nature, there's no such thing. But civilized human beings can't pretend they're living out there when it's convenient. When they don't want to play by the fairness rules, they can't resort to nature, and then pretend they're civilized. It's always to their convenience. When there's profit to be made, they'll use the process. Okay, when it's a loss, then they'll say, "Oh, the process is a evil bureaucracy." It's the obvious hypocrisy of convenience. Convenience decides, which rule book they're going to pull out of their pocket. Civilization or nature. It's all going to depend on what kind of weapon they have in their pocket. They'll all of a sudden decide what the rules of the fight are. It's such a gross, disgusting cheat of the reality. So anybody who's going to call themselves intelligent or civilized has to live up to the fairness standard. And the fairness standard is going to force you to be accountable for the worst case scenarios you risk, the ones you impose through your overtly and indirectly through your action. You just can't say, well, I didn't intend that to be the outcome. That's bullshit. It doesn't have anything to do with what you intend. It has to do with what is a practical, realistic, inevitable outcome. And that's the truth of it. These are inevitables. These aren't just some sort of obscure possibility. No, this crap will happen. Much of this crap is unavoidable. There's no practical or realistic scenario that can be painted in diluted imagination that can be rationally coherent to justify or to escape the fact that if you're going to embrace the game, you've got to embrace all of it, not just the parts you like. Okay, and you've got to accept responsibility for all of it. And most importantly, you've got to explain how you as a civilized organism can accept the unfairness of it, the cheat of it, the fact that you live your life without accounting for the fact that you would not live that other life, and you know you wouldn't. And the reason why you're talking such big talk is because you know your consciousness has been rendered immune. And that's it. That's all there is. You're too stupid to figure out that once any consciousness is unimmune, that's the disaster. So anyway, I believe that's enough. Yeah, I think so. I have to take the glove off. Yeah, touchscreen.